I was bound to be a sailor.
Thank you for being here with us today to celebrate the life of my good friend, Stuart Noble Headley.
But I was on board the USS West Virginia, where we took 9 torpedo hits and 2 bombs. And I survived.
We are so grateful for the time we had with him.
I was at my battle station first when I saw the Arizona explode. Shortly after, a bomb came through our turret, killed 11 men, 2 of us walked out alive. Quite an experience for a 20-year-old kid.
We will miss his spirit.
The good Lord had his hand on me all during the war.
Fair winds and following seas.
Rest in peace, Stu. Your spirit, your legacy will live forever here on the USS Midway.
Learn to love one another.
Out of the western sky they came, engines roaring, exhausts aflame. The sky was filled with attacking flights, strafing and bombing with all their might. It was Sunday morning and we were at rest, but when alerted we did our best. And when the attackers did retreat, 3,500 casualties lay at our feet. Now when I with reverence attend the December memorials once again, I gaze at the list of the young who died, and with pent emotions, I have cried. The tears I shed upon my cheek pose a question, whose answer I seek, why you and not me?
What is the best way to teach history to a bunch of kids who weren't around when it happened? Bring the history makers to them. Which is exactly why a veterans charity has delivered these men to this school. At 102 years old, U.S. Navy veteran and Pearl Harbor survivor Mickey Ganich has heard the roar of applause lots of times over the last 80 years. But there's something about this crowd that's extra special.
And for as long as any of us are here, we will celebrate December 7th forever.
The kids at the Navy Hale Keiki School have been preparing for this all-star visit for months. This school is full of military kids.
I love the one girl's little curtsy at the end there. I'm going to have to try to practice that in the safety of my bedroom.
Who've been taught from day one what Pearl Harbor means. How hard it was to survive.
Of the United States of America.
And how heroic those who did make it really are.
They attacked us and so we attacked them back.
This year, to mark the 80th anniversary of the attack that forced America into World War II, the school welcomed Mickey, Bobby, Steve, and Harold.
The reason I'm here is because somebody also fought for me and paid the price for me.
4 World War II heroes.
Did anyone accidentally die?
We had 23 people die that day because the bomb missed me by 45 feet.
Among them, 2 Pearl Harbor survivors.
How many men were on the ship?
Well, I really don't know. But I think the ship would carry 800 persons.
In an attempt to connect generations.
Right hand out. What a great team. Boy, and they're all champions. How do I give a prize?
And it didn't take long to make that connection.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Turns out, even after 8 decades, there is still curiosity.
Do you have like any injuries that you got from the bombing of Pearl Harbor?
And still questions.
Did I get hurt?
Yeah.
No, I didn't get hurt because I was way down, 3 decks down below the water in the magazine room.
About what happened on December 7th, 1941, and in the years that followed in World War II.
This was a bad thing, and the whole country got together.
A teacher and a textbook can convey the lesson, but these guys lived it.
We had a lot of different bunks that we all slept in.
Whether it was dodging those torpedoes on Oahu or fighting in the hedgerows of Normandy.
My generation was called the greatest generation. And the reason for that is not me, but it was all the people.
What's another song that we would know?
Or being imprisoned in a POW camp. Each of them can teach the history of World War II in a way no one else can.
Basic training, the hardest thing to do, everything was pretty hard.
It seems sad but crucial to remember that almost everyone who was alive to fight during World War II isn't alive anymore.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
These are some of the few still left to share their history. Which is why they've stopped here with a critical assignment to remind young people, don't forget us.
That's all I know. That's all I could tell you.
And don't forget what happened.
I was scared.
On this mission, organized by the Greatest Generations Foundation, a charity that returns war heroes to the places they served.
That's where the torpedo hit there.
Connecting the greatest generation to the youngest generation is priority one.
I mean, you can read about it all day long, but if you meet the face behind it that does absolutely everything, it puts a story, it makes the story live in your heart, and once it lives in your heart, it doesn't go away. Have a great time, okay?
Thank you very much.
Because this may be the last time these men are ever here.
Well, a lot of our people are gone, and we are here to honor them.
Most Pearl Harbor survivors are at least 97 years old, many of them well over 100, and their numbers are dwindling fast as the 80th anniversary of the attack passes. Just a few dozen survivors remain across the entire country. Men like 100-year-old George Blake of Salida, Colorado, still very mobile, but with a medical condition that prevents him from making the journey back to Hawaii, where he was stationed in the Army the morning of the attack.
And there was this tremendous sounded like airplanes were landing on a corrugated tin roof. We came out of the building and the sky was full of planes.
He has never been able to erase the memory of what happened to those others that day.
I suddenly realized,
and the guilt,
they were all kids.
That it didn't happen to him.
19, 20.
Just 2 weeks before this year's 80th anniversary, Pearl Harbor survivor Jack Edge died. 2 weeks before that, survivor Larry Petretti died. And it's hard to know how many will be left when next December 7th comes around. It gives these men pause as they walk the grounds of the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific, the so-called Punch Bowl in Honolulu, where more than 13,000 soldiers and sailors who died during World War II have been laid to rest.
I didn't realize the number of men that were killed, men and women, in Pearl Harbor. Looking at this cemetery, it makes your mind think what happened and why, and if the problems of the world have been resolved.
It is not lost on these veterans just how lucky they were to survive.
I don't feel that we should go to war and so many people die, because from what I see, wars never really end.
How old are you, sir?
What?
And how old are you, sir?
How old are you? Operation Paperclip. 67?
Operation Paperclip. 67. Come on.
Funny how every December in Hawaii seems everyone has a connection or knows someone who was there when Pearl Harbor was attacked.
This is my father.
Carolyn Brooks Wood has a close family connection.
Dad is in that most reproduced photo of World War II in the motor launch in front of the USS West Virginia. He's the man on the left-hand side. It was taken by a shipmate from the USS Oregon, Frank Faust, who was with Navy intelligence.
Everywhere these guys go, everyone wants to share their story.
Thank you. Awesome.
Their connection to that day which will live in infamy.
I mean, how often do you meet someone that's 102 and a legend? You're legendary.
Humility is as ingrained in these guys now as bravery was 80 years ago.
How's that feel, Mickey?
Do you feel loved? Are you feel alive?
But that's not to say they don't enjoy some of the attention. And the byproduct of all that adulation is that it gives these men a forum to remind people of the one reason they're really here.
Remember Pearl Harbor as we go to meet a foe. Just remember Pearl Harbor as we did the Alamo. We shall always remember how they died for liberty. Just remember Pearl Harbor and go on to victory.
Yeah! Yeah! Good job, Mickey!
There was a time when what happened here in Hawaii to them was a rallying cry, a cause that united. But when they're gone, when they're all gone, will people forget?
My name is Robert Fernandez.
Each stop on this visit, each ceremony and celebration is designed to make sure that doesn't happen.
I was 17 at the time, and now I'm 97. And I'm sure glad to be here with all you folks today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything, sir. Army vets, you led the way.
They have led the way for 80 years since they witnessed the beginning of the war. So it seems fitting to visit the place where the war ended, too. The deck of the USS Missouri, where the Japanese surrendered on September 2nd, 1945.
Boy, these things are big. My God, I haven't seen anything this big. It's so big. And this is where the treaty was signed that ended the war.
1,365 days after the attack on Pearl Harbor.
This is where World War II officially ended. The plaque in the middle, that's where the table stood. On the day of the surrender ceremony, it held the documents of surrender on top.
We're the lucky ones. We survived there. So this is in honor of the people who have gone before us there, their families, their loved ones there. And it is our honor to be here today. Thank you.
Hard not to feel those same goosebumps here today as they did on VJ Day, when their time at war was over.
This goes way, way back. And it's made me very happy. Thank you.
In addition to the Missouri, they traveled to the Oklahoma, a stirring monument to the hundreds of men trapped below her deck when she was torpedoed more than a half dozen times, rolled over, and sunk to the harbor floor. If any place drives home the gravity of that day, this is it.
It is so nice to see you here today. I just want to say hello.
When you survive an attack like what happened here on December 7th, 1941, even a Navy commander will salute you.
Oh, no, I'm saluting you. No way. You bet. Right back at you.
She reminds these men that their trip here today has accomplished its goal of connecting generations.
The best ships are friendships, right? So it's nice to meet you all.
For these survivors of Pearl Harbor and the war that followed, time here in Hawaii has come to a close. They first came here 80 years ago and left an indelible impression. Same goes for this time around.
Well, it means a lot to me that I could make the trip.
There is a tradition every year on the night of December 7th for survivors to take part in a parade through the streets of Honolulu. But these guys decided to travel a different route. Onto the water, where their fellow sailors perished.
Hi, sailor. Sailor's going on.
Permission to come aboard?
You got it, brother. What's your name?
With those curious, history-minded school children back by their side,
Take turns driving this big old boat.
they chartered a boat and headed out into the Pacific, a few hundred yards off Waikiki.
The first time I was on a boat, I went to Europe. That's when the government sent me to go to war.
With that familiar song playing in the background.
Remember Pearl Harbor as we go to meet the foe. Let's remember Pearl Harbor as we did the Alamo.
They prayed.
Be with the ones that ride their ships or guarding our country, flying our planes there.
And paid tribute.
Bless the people that rode the waves there and fought for our country there.
To the men who, as someone once said, gave up their tomorrows for our today. History lessons, it's worth repeating, don't always come from books.
You gotta look forward. You gotta see where you're going.
How fortunate it is for these children to learn this lesson in this way.
There it is. Wait, that's a three. That's a triple story.
And as the sun begins to disappear below the horizon, it's hard not to think about the approaching end of the greatest generation.
Oh yeah, yes, I enjoy this.
But if we've learned one thing on this journey to Hawaii, it's that maybe the greatest contribution of this great generation is the first-hand accounts they've shared with people decades younger, who now bear the enormous responsibility of never forgetting.